So good to see all of you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. Happy Tuesday to you, wherever you are. Like I said, click like and share. You know, I want to sit with you for a few minutes, and I think there's so much. We've got so much going on. In the world. Of course, as always, there are 8 billion people, so of course there's a lot going on. But in the end, too, right? There's just so much to also think about. So much to think about, and I'm really excited to share with you. One of the things that has just kind of been flooding my Facebook feed and is people really shouting out Sha'Carri Richardson and her being one of the fastest, and I believe the youngest, 21 years old, Olympic first place medalist today, and just her aesthetic as a Black woman. I would love to spend some time on that. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about like all of the images I've seen of her and how lavish she has, is put into these headlines. How she is also holding a very unique posture by loving up on her ancestors. And I just want to just celebrate all the time as an important thing for me is just to love Black women. It's just a great thing to have. It's a great thing to know. It's a great thing to experience. And it's also just really powerful also to find out today that she's identifiably same gender loving, queer, and so it's just very, very powerful to think about that. So I just want to shout her out. I also just want to take the moment to be like, we're getting close to like real heat here. I don't know about you, but it's been sweltering and it is hot, and I'm trying to stay hydrated, drink plenty of water, take care of myself. I hope that you're doing the same. Please drink water. Please stay hydrated. In the words of the Ghanaian proverb, for those who know the Ghanaian proverb, it says water is life, right? Water is life. And so it's a very key thing to make sure that we have. If we are anything, we have to value the importance of life. Things being life-giving, life-affirming, life-transforming, right? We need to make sure that we constantly keep drinking water so that we are in many ways elevated and grounded and always refreshed. So I was sitting, today, and I said, what are we gonna kind of build on today? What are we gonna build on today? And I've been working on my dissertation, as you know. Still, we've got another kind of 1.5-2 week lockdown. But we're moving forward with the show, and things are going quite fine. But can I throw this at you? So I did a show on Sunday, which really wasn't technically a show, but just a moment, right? Because I don't want to withhold myself. I don't want to withhold myself from such deep thoughts or thinking, or also just letting you ponder with me, wander, right? And like some people are like, oh, I don't, I don't like to. Some people like to be very crisp when they present. Some people like to know exactly what they're going to say. A lot of times that doesn't happen for me. I actually find that I do very well processing and thinking out my thoughts without all of that, without all of sometimes those structures or those kinds of edifications. And the reason why is because I do believe that there is growth in sharing and pondering with community. And you being in my community, it's such a beautiful thing to share words or thoughts of wisdom as they unfold, right? And it's probably a few things that have been sitting with me, because I did something on that Sunday where I brought together two things, particularly use some theistic framework with some non-theistic framework, and it was a little bit of both, and holding all of those things in a beautiful, challenging tension. And so, I know I have some folk And I know if this gets across to the podcast, where some of my free thinking, agnostic, atheist, humanist community is, and in this space as freedom folk, I like to push on some of those notions for those who develop gatekeeping. We've got gatekeepers. Let's just be real. Anything that you officially say that you belong to, you find yourself in gatekeeping proximity. Gatekeeping, some people don't think about it, but gatekeeping does two things, right? Gatekeeping has a way of creating boundaries, and it has a way of setting up barricades, right? Boundaries and barricades, right? You can't get out, and you necessarily can't get in. And we just so happen to do that a lot with anything that we're doing. We get kind of cliquish. If you're not in this group, then and you say something that's not normally what the group would say, then you're out it, right? And so I have been sitting with this idea of gatekeeping for quite some time. I deal with gatekeeping within the academy when I am working on my PhD. There is a gatekeeping that happens when we talk about particular structures, maybe gender structures. There's a gatekeeping on what is a man and what is a woman. There are gatekeepings such as even now, what is queer and what is gay, or what, right? There are certain things, and we find ourselves in many ways policing and criminalizing each other. So I thought, let's push on something just simple. So I've run into a few people lately that have been intrigued that I identify as a humanist. So I want to get some of this gatekeeping handled, because yes, I use the local term, I'm a humanist. But many of you know I do identify as a free-forming humanist. Free-forming, not free-thinking. Whew, that's a whole different thing too. And a lot of these things have somewhat been unpacked on this show, and some of this stuff has been built over time, and some of this is also me developing my wonderful philosophy, as I always do, because what good is humanism if it is not progressive? And even Felix Adler of Ethical Culture said that a religion of 200 years ago, at some point has to evolve. It cannot remain the same. Otherwise, you got something stale. So I decided today to kind of break down some things for some of my friends, some of my freedom folk friends, because most of my freedom folk friends are from a variety of experiences. They practice various different things. And I guess the question that I would like for us to keep in mind as we think about this kind of gatekeeping is this phrase: you might be a humanist, right? You might be a humanist. So you don't have to believe in all of these things, but just know you might be a humanist. All right? So let's kind of look at it like this. You might be a humanist. Big one for humanists. You might be a humanist if you don't believe in anything supernatural. Keyword, might. You might be a humanist if you do not need a supernatural power. And you know that your abilities and responsibilities are a huge part of your existence. your responsibility. You are in connection, right? It's nobody else's fault. It's not anybody else, any other deity or anything. You might be a humanist. Let's start there. Ooh, okay, all right. I probably got some folk really thinking. I want to help some people. Some people don't ever realize this. I mean, like I said, I met somebody who was like, "How do you do it?" And they're Christian. Then they realized that we were really, really close and we were vibing, like we were really connected in a lot of things. So I just want to outline some things. You might be a humanist if you believe in evolutionary change, and that it's also a part of nature. You believe in that. That's a big thing. You might be a humanist if you recognize nature as self-existing. We accept our lives as all and enough. As all and enough. Some of us can agree with that, possibly. You might be a humanist if you find that science is one of the best modes of determining knowledge and problem solving. Okay? If you find that science, I want to be very critical about that. You might be a humanist if you're interested in testing your experiences. How do you live them out? What do they feel like? You don't think them out. You work through them. You embody them. You put them into practice, constantly into practice. You just might be a humanist. And at the same time, while you're doing that practice, right? Testing those experiences, you are willing to be accountable. I'm adding that. I'm looking at some of these things from the American Humanist website. I just want to share that with you so that as we go through these, you might be a humanist if you find meaning in making relationships, that the social nature of our being is a necessity, having a need to be in relationship, in cooperation with each other, and that you find your worth in also sharing with each other, right? So you find your individual worth and your experience with sharing with each other, right? So that's very powerful, right? You might also be a humanist if you are deeply concerned about human ideals, such as social justice, democracy, life-giving and life quality affirming legislation. Today's voting in New York, for those who are out here. You might be a humanist working to the benefit of society as a means of also achieving your own fulfillment, right? As a means of achieving your own fulfillment. Now, I did a little bit of a remix with some of those because I think some of this is a little lofty in language, and I like to keep things a little plain. So, right, you just might be a humanist. Now, I say all that to say this. There are several kinds of humanists in the world. So the question is for a lot of people who meet me or wonder, is humanism for me? I just want to be very clear. I did say might. And I want to be very clear that we need to put the human in the ist. Okay? Human comes before the ist. I'm not going to put a barrier, and I'm not going to put up a blockade. It ain't happening. The goal of my human capacity is that I will build not only relationships, but bridges. So I bet some of my friends who identify as Christian probably were like, I can agree with a lot of those things. I like a lot of those things. One of the things that come up are probably the relationship. The only thing that probably strikes us hard right? Thank you, Lena. Yes, human before for the ist. That's exactly. We're not doing barricades today. We wanna build on this, right, for a few seconds, because humanists, just like any other tradition or religious practice, and any philosophical wisdom, deserves to be in the space around and supporting whole humanity. It is nothing new. So for some of my Christian friends, I'm sure we have done a really good job with the four commandments. We know the four commandments quite well. We do them quite well because we have to have relationship with God. But can I help you? Why is it that if you have such an amazing relationship with those four commands, that the other six about human relationship go lacking? And people are still suffering. I'm not trying to convict you. I'm just saying that when you think of where the humanist is, they're working on the six other kind of commandments, right? They're kind of working on the other part that says, love your neighbor like you would yourself, and maybe even better, right? It's okay, because we need to, in many ways, all of life is not rooted in being so spiritual that you're no earthly good, but nor is it so socially political, humanist, that it is no, right, spiritual good. And so I think we need to redefine, yes, I said that too, redefine how we come to this moment of what else can humanism do? I have often challenged the notion and bringing up the statements of James Baldwin when James Baldwin talks about the validity and the concept of God, that if God doesn't make us more freeing, more loving, right, and much larger, then it would be time to get rid of him. I am often concerned that we as humanists struggle because we can think much larger, but I don't know if we can do much larger. We can think to do love, but we don't necessarily practice what love always looks like. You know, justice is what love looks like in public, as you've heard me say about within the frameworks of Dr. Cornel West. If we are going to do this work, there are, as one of my friends, Natalie Renee, proclaims to be, she's a Christian humanist. What does that mean? She appreciates looking at the nature of relationship with her faith and her faith seeking understanding, right? Her faith seeking understanding. So she's not just going to apply her faith and not critically use various modes of thinking, right? She's not going to come to them. She's a Christian humanist. She's actually okay with talking about the brutality of Jesus as a human being, and particularly understood as probably a Black human being who was oppressed by a system and identified as an enemy of the state, just like we would see George Floyd, just like we would see Eric Gardner, just like we would have seen Ahmaud, gosh, his last name has slipped my mind. Oh, forgive me. But, right, these individuals, Breonna Taylor, all of them, when we begin to think like that, that brings us into the human experience. It brings us into the human condition. And if we are really going to say anything more, we need to practice being more loving, much larger, and in many ways, be more accepting. It is being able to have both simultaneously in the space. It's being able to have that who may use, indeed, yes, I did bring these out, tarot cards, right? And find the stories that match our circumstance and not just use our imagination. Thank you, Aubrey. Thank you. I appreciate you. You know, that ability to take those stories of our own situation and find interconnection with them, not because they're future telling, but because we need to make a little bit more sense. And sometimes, for some humanists, science is not enough. I know for me, I don't really lean deeply on it. It's not my immediately go-to. My imagination is, and I see that as an act of science. I see it actually as an act of future. And I am someone who's deeply involved in the idea of future. By the way, that card is a really great card. That card in the upright was something I picked earlier today. It is a card that deals with confidence and independence. And I think that's the beauty about, in some ways, coming to the experience of being a humanist. Being a humanist, you can come in as an individual and share in right, watch this. You come in as an individual, but you come in with a very particular worth. You bring something of worth to contribute, right? Well, you might be a humanist, and there are days you're going to feel like you're not, and that's okay too. And there are going to be days that you're going to feel like you're a Christian, and I guarantee you there are days that you really don't feel like you're a Christian at all, and you don't want to be one. And there are days that you're probably going to think that, you know what, maybe today I need to practice something else because this is not working for me. That's really, really important. And a matter of fact, thank you, Justice, exactly. I love science. It has helped combat my demons and it doesn't connect me with me, right? I think in many ways, right, it's being able to find modes of meaning. We get involved in traditions and practices, but the question is do we get a chance to really find our mode of meaning? And if we seek out those modes of meaning, we'll be able to grow within our own human capacity, our human intelligence. Yes, humanist, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to cry. It's okay not to. It's okay to be angry. It's okay that sometimes some things just don't make sense. And there's no explanation. I said that too. And I appreciate those moments because they add to our wonder. If you ask me, just to close, what was humanism for me? And how did I arrive to the idea of being a free-forming humanist? My main idea that sits with me most is that this work is a constant practice and study of our aliveness. There is not one way to do this thing. Humanism is the study and the practice of our aliveness. If you do not feel alive, you're missing out. It's an ongoing growth. Thank you, Tara Coffee. It is that. It is constantly ongoing. It is ever evolving. Things and circumstances will shift your point of view, and be open to the perceptions. Be open to the meaningfulness of it. Be open to the fact that you probably did not, that honestly, maybe that sacred text that you've been reading for years doesn't have an answer, and it's okay. And maybe it's that poem that you probably read by Maya Angelou or Langston Hughes, or it probably was that book by Alice Walker, or it probably was that philosophy that you heard while sitting in class talking about Kant and Hegel. It was probably all of those things and more. It was probably grandma cooking in the kitchen, and it was probably also the words of wisdom from your spouse after a late night of getting from work. It's being open to the aliveness of not only yourself, but others. The first goal in mind is to be human in that and embrace that. We've got enough. We got enough haters, and we got enough gatekeepers. We need to stop with what kind of Christianity this is. What kind of humanism is this? What kind of Hinduism is? No, be human. Be human. And love being human. And be alive in it. That kind of aliveness offers us a chance to do a lot of recovery from a lot of facts that people living lives based off of tradition are not living in full practice of their humanity. They get more caught up in religion, more caught up in all these other things before really practicing human flourishing, the human condition and what it needs. The question is, are we listening? Are we listening? And how do we listen beyond our ears? So we got to break down some of the barriers. And I think it's okay to add, no matter what walk of life you come from, it's always okay to say, you might just be. I want to thank you for joining me. It is 8:30. Y'all know how we do. We're going to kick out. Share this with somebody else. Click like, share. Thank you. And I hope you also have planned a vacation for yourself, because everybody's going to need a bit of rest, particularly after all this COVID stuff and us being locked together. All right. Hugs to you. Kisses. Justice. Let's do some music. I'm the Ethical Evangelist. I'll see you next Tuesday. Let's break those barriers. Let's build some bridges. The world is open to you. Let your humanism be.